Good evening. I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Brawley City Council and successor agency to Brawley Community Redevelopment Agency. This is our regular meeting agenda for July 20th, 2021 at 6 p.m. here in City Council chambers. We'll have the roll call.
Mayor Hamby,
Present.
Mayor Pro Temp Couchman,
Here.
Councilmember Nava,
Here.
Councilmember Castro, Councilmember Wharton.
Here.
Thank you. All right, we'll have our invocation. We're happy to have Pastor Mike Nesiuk from El Redentor Church.
Lord God, we want to thank you for helping us through this pandemic and being able to come through it, and Lord, be able to come and gather together to do the business of the city. We ask that you comfort and strengthen the lives of those that were affected by the deaths of their loved ones. And Lord, lead and direct the leaders of our city in the days to come in the restructuring and everything that goes on after that pandemic, that things will be a lot better through this hard time that we went through. For we ask and pray all this in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Mike. Police Chief Duran, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. This time I'm looking for an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
This is George, I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Moving on to item 2, public appearances and comments, not to exceed 4 minutes. This is the time for the public to address the council on any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. The mayor will recognize you, and when you come to the microphone, please state your name for the record. Is there any public comment?
George Doyle is Brawley resident, and I'm here just to make a couple of comments on the 5G, the homeless issue, and also we were here in the last meeting and you guys outed a contract for a tree trimming service, but there's plenty of tree trimmers here in Brawley that you guys could have used, and the money would have stayed in Brawley, and that could have also helped that Brawley guy, the tree guy, expand his business, which also would employ more people in Brawley. So I think that needs to be reconsidered. And also the 5G tower that you guys are putting right there in a park where there's kids. It doesn't make any sense. Where's the common sense? These things are potentially dangerous to our kids, and you guys are putting them right smack in our community? It doesn't, where's the common sense, guys? And you guys did this behind closed doors, in a meeting behind closed doors, which was done in dark. You can't do this to the community. You can't. These are children here. They matter. And you are putting them in harmful ways, very harmful ways. And it needs to be rethought and moved. Because not only that, this isn't a country, a city of ag, livestock, and honeybees. And these towers emit electromagnetic waves which will harm the bees. And I've seen evidence. So you guys need to do more research on this. You know, and it's not to point fingers and call you guys bad guys, but you guys got to start listening to we the people, because our voices count. And you guys, by doing stuff like this, we can't even trust big government right now. And by you guys doing like stuff like this shows that we can't trust small government either. And the elections will show the voice of we the people.
Okay, thank you for your comment.
My name's Michael Lofton. I actually wrote out a little speech because I'm not as good as him to go off memory. So my name's Michael Lofton and my husband is Jermaine Lofton. We are Brawley residents and we live in Parkside. Wrote this letter to express our concerns of the proposed cell phone tower placement near our subdivision and so close to our recreational facilities. We learned of the cell phone tower proposal nearly 3 weeks ago when there was a knock at our door asking us if we'd like to sign a petition against the tower placement. We signed it immediately and for numerous reasons. The first reason being cell phone towers emit mass amounts of radio frequency radiation. I'm a nurse, so all this is fact-checked, scientifically peer-reviewed articles that I read, okay? I wouldn't just come with nonsense. So cell phone towers emit mass amounts of radio frequency that are detrimental to our health and have been proven through various scientific studies and published in peer-reviewed articles around the world. Some of the health problems found to be related to these radio frequency radiations include but are not limited to memory loss, cardiovascular stress, birth defects, and various types of cancer. These studies have found that closer people live to a cell phone tower, the higher amounts of medical conditions they have. One Australian study found that children living near TV and FM broadcast towers, which emit similar radiation to cell phone towers, develop leukemia at 3 times the rate of children living 7 miles away. I live less than 7 miles from this cell phone tower. A German study cited that cancer rates more than tripled among people living within 400 meters of a cell phone tower, and those within 100 meters were exposed to radiation at 100 times the normal level. An Israeli study found that risk of cancer quadrupled among people living within 350 meters of a cell phone transmitter tower. Astoundingly, the U.S. and federal government do not allow rejection of cell phone towers based on health risk, and 1.9 million cell towers and antennas have been approved nationwide without federal studies to assure the safety of those living nearby in the community. In other countries, governments require interventions to protect the public from electromagnetic frequencies, but oddly not here in the U.S. And as he mentioned, I don't trust our government, so that goes a lot to show with why they aren't studying this. I'm sure you're telling yourself right now, well, I Googled it, cell phone towers are not harmful, because that's the first thing that pops up when you Google. And most of the evidence published states cell phone towers are safe, and I'm sure the cell phone company has assured the city of Brawley that the tower is safe. Well, you're wrong. The truth is, the U.S. has not conducted studies on cell phone towers since 1993 and 1999. The study in 1993 was a project that the FDA co-sponsored and they dropped out of, and no peer-reviewed results have been published from that study. Interesting, right? In fact, in 1999, the FDA stated that further research is needed to assess the risk to human health to wireless communication devices. The second study in 1999 studied the effects of 2G cell phone radiation on mice and rats, and they only released partial results. Interesting. We are now in 2021 and utilizing 5G cell phone radiation. Much of our cell phone technology is new and evolving. We do not have data on the consequences of 10, 20, and 30 years worth of long-term effect of radiation exposure. This radio frequency exposure is the same as an X-ray. Do you go get an X-ray daily? Do you go get one weekly? Do you go get one monthly? It's not even advised to get one yearly. You know the precautions when you go get an X-ray and all the things they ask you. Are you pregnant? Do you have this, that? This is the same type of radio frequency emitted from the cell phone tower. If radio frequency is not harmful, then why has the World Health Organization classified it as being a possible carcinogen, meaning a cancer-causing agent? I ask that the city of Brawley reconsider the placement of the cell phone tower. We do not need a tower so close to our youth Little League parks, high school baseball field, high school football field, Lion Center, city pool, city skate park, other baseball, soccer, football practice fields nearby that are utilized daily. The studies mentioned above should be alarming to you if you care about the safety of our community and our children. I have had a family member diagnosed with cancer at the age of 3, and I do not wish that pain and agony on any family. Aside from the risk, the tower placement poses risk of injury to our children, as we know that area is used daily and heavily trafficked. In conclusion, I ask that the city of Brawley address the following. Why have the residents of Brawley, especially surrounding the location of the proposed tower, not been notified of such placement? As he said, this was made in the dark. I live in Parkside, a block away from where this tower is going, and I had no clue. And I would have had no clue because I don't have social media. So unless it was a knock on my door telling me about a petition. Why are 600 signatures appealing the tower placement not sufficient for you guys? 600 signatures, a petition. Would 600 votes not in your favor for re-election be damaging to one person? That would be. On top of risk to human health, is the city going to be liable for children injured as a result of this tower? You know, if there's a tower outage and they're working on it and we have a Little League game going and kids are running around, kid gets hit, city gonna accept liability for that? Has the telecommunication company guaranteed in writing that there are no current or potential negative health effects caused by the cell phone tower? And will they guarantee full responsibility for members of our community who may be negatively affected? And most major insurers will not cover health claims due to radio frequency exposure, go figure. So how will any negative health effects resulting from the installation of the tower be covered for city employees, volunteers, or members of the community who will be utilizing the facilities nearby daily? My husband is a youth coach, he volunteers, we volunteer. Many of these kids play in those facilities daily. People from other towns coming. Daily, their kids are going to be being exposed. Also, how will a cell phone tower outage affect those who are present at a game nearby? Football game, baseball, high school baseball game, Little League, and there's an outage and they're up there working on it. How's that gonna affect us? I printed, this is a cause of cancer in a 3-year-old little girl. You guys can pass it around. I'm not saying her cancer was caused by a cell phone tower, but why would we increase the risk of that? 3 years old, diagnosed with cancer, 6 years of hell, ended with leg amputation. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Good evening. On a lighter note, my name is Dana Mendoza, and I am here representing the Brawley Cattle Call Queen Royalty Association. And I am asking and letting you all know that we have put in our request to use the cattle call facility, provided we can do that with the current COVID restrictions at the time. But every year we come and we ask you for your help and for your approval of our plans. We'll be back in September for the official, but we just wanted to make you aware that we are going to do our best. Last year we did get the competition underway, but we did it in Yuma, Arizona, due to the restrictions for obviously for the rodeo here. We didn't want to get them in any trouble. So this year we're hopeful that we'll be able to do some kind of what resembles our pageant in the past right here in Brawley. And I just want to let you know and enjoy your month off, and we'll see you in September.
Thank you very much.
Any other public comment?
Good evening, Council. I'd like to speak to you about some Brawley traditions. I'd like to applaud you for honoring the dais by wearing proper attire. That tells everybody that you hold your position in personal reverence. You also have a tradition of going dark in August. But there are some traditions that need some work. For example, the Planning Commission should also go dark in August, but they are not. The Planning Commission should also bring items for information and to the following meeting for action. This should be a tradition, but it's not. It's also a tradition for the people of Brawley to find out about projects at the end of the process instead of the beginning. That is not right. The people deserve to be properly consulted at the beginning of a project instead of the end. Finally, I urge you to move your cell phone tower somewhere else. The maintenance of that tower will force you to choose between maintaining it for the benefit of the company and using the parks for the priceless reason they were built. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to start off by thanking the members of the board and also the members of the public for giving me the opportunity to speak today. My name's Sergeant Edgar Quinones with the Imperial County Sheriff's Office, but I'm here today as a 9/11 Stair Climb Committee member. Reason why we're here today is myself and my partner, Tiffany Macias, Assistant CEO of the Midwinter Fair Expo. We're here to let people know about the stair climb, the 9/11 stair climb. We're asking the city of Brawley and we're challenging the city of Brawley to create a team, come out and join the festivities, as well as spread the word and let people know what this 9/11 stair climb is all about. The 9/11 stair climb, basically, we joined the committee in 2018. Our goal was in the beginning to honor 343 fallen firefighters. We've exceeded that goal, and we're now implementing the law enforcement entity into it. Law enforcement entities were 60 lost law enforcement officers and approximately 10 EMS, which is medical personnel. Altogether, you add the 343, the 60, and the 10 equals out to 413, which is a favorite Bible verse of mine, which is Philippians 4:13. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. As a memorial, as honoring these individuals who perished during the 9/11, we like to basically honor these individuals by having the community come out. Basically, what it entails is climbing 1,980 steps at your pace, and you would partake in the facilities. It equals out to approximately 110 floors, which is the 9/11 Twin Towers. During that event, we'll have multiple agencies, organizations representing the individuals, and we'll also have vendors, a band, DJ, and fireworks and raffles as well. So in all, we're asking the city of Brawley to just spread the word, tell their employees, tell their other entities here in the Brawley community that they can come out and partake in these festivities. The early registration is $20 for registration, which includes a T-shirt and a badge honoring one of those fallen members. We'd like to see all the cities represented. We'd like to see everybody come out and take part of this event. And as I mentioned earlier, in the long term, our goal is to eventually create a memorial for the 9/11 fallen members of this, so we can honor them. And so that'll be our long-time goal, and we plan on coming back to the cities and asking for their involvement as well. But for now, we just want to share the event that's going to take place on September, and just basically spreading the word. If you guys have any questions at this time, I'm willing to answer any questions from you guys.
Can you say the date again, the actual date of the stair climb?
I believe the stair climb lands on Saturday, 9/11, is that correct?
Yes, I think it is a Saturday.
Yes, so we will be taking place on Saturday as well. We'll still take that event on Saturday. I have some flyers here, if I can drop these off with your clerk, and maybe you guys can spread this out.
You talked about a team. Is there any number of people that can be on that team, or?
Yes.
Okay.
So we accept any type of donations. I mean, if the city decides to donate $500, their entity will be put on display at the kiosk as you enter in front of the fairgrounds. In addition to that, it'll be recognized on the National Firefighters Association website, and also any Brawley city member can sign up as a team. So if you guys start a team, like for instance Brawley Stair Climbers or whatever, you guys can have anybody join that team. If they register, you can partake in that team. So it all equals out as who raises the most, and is it the city of Brawley, city of Hopeville, city of El Centro? It'll show who's come out and participated the most. So we encourage everybody to to come out and partake in this festivity. So if there's no further questions, any further questions out?
We'll work
for
it
the
out.
public?
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Anyone else with a public comment?
Good afternoon, members of the council. My name is Jesus Noriega, better known in Brawley as Jesse Noriega. I was born and raised here in Brawley. I went to Sacred Heart School, graduated from Brawley Junior High School, worked 28 years for United Parcel Service. My brother served, Robert Noriega served for 16 years in the city council here in Brawley. And I moved to Arizona, and I was there for 15 years. Well, I decided to come back to Brawley. I've been here 3 years. My biggest disappointment in Brawley was the streets of Brawley. All the potholes. Us older people, we're retired. It takes a lot of money to fix the front ends. And I do not understand why. I know the Brawley took the main street over from the state, but what is the problem that we can't get our streets fixed? The problem is, I know there's grants out there, and if the city council is not moving to get those grants, we'd like to know what the problem is. I love my town, but I'm disappointed on the maintenance of the streets here in Brawley, because there are a lot of potholes. Thank you very much. I came here for another reason, but since I was here, I decided to let it go. I came for the little girl who was champ in Texas, representing Brawley, California. But since I was here, I wasn't going to talk about the tower. You heard enough about the tower. So thank you for your time, and good night.
All right,
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, so as Mr. Noriega mentioned, we do have a proclamation to honor Yaretzi Farat for her accomplishment at the Boxing National Junior Olympics Championship. So, Yaretzi, if you want to come up, I'm going to read this proclamation to you. All right, it says, whereas Yaretzi Farat was born in Brawley, has been involved in gymnastics, cheerleading, karate, and became interested in boxing after seeing her brother in the sport. And whereas Yaretzi Farat won the 2021 USA Boxing National Junior Olympics Championship gold medal in the 80-pound bantamweight division on July 13th, 2021 in Lubbock, Texas. And whereas Yaretzi Farat has been a member of Sparta Boxing El Centro for the last 2.5 years, and whereas it's important to recognize the contributions of youth in our community, now therefore, as a token of our appreciation, the Brawley City Council proclaims July 20th, 2021 as Yaretzi Farat Day in the city of Brawley. Congratulations. It's good to have a champion in the house.
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to item 3, consent agenda. Items are approved by one motion. Council members or members of the public may request consent items be considered separately at a time determined by the mayor. Do I have a motion to approve?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, this is George. I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second it. Oh, somebody
Moved
else,
and
sorry.
seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? All right, item 4, this is a public hearing. We're going to conduct a public hearing and adopt resolution number 2021- resolution of the City Council of the City of Brawley, California, acting as the legislative body of Community Facilities District number 2005-3 of the City of Brawley, La Paloma, approving permanent termination of the levy of the facilities special tax, therein presented by William Smurden, our city attorney. Backup is on pages 41 through 45.
So, good evening, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this public hearing is to take comments from any members of the public that are interested in the proposed termination of this special tax. So at this time, it probably should open it up.
Okay, we're going to open the public hearing and ask for any comment.
Doesn't look like there is any.
Nobody objects to us terminating a tax?
Do you have a presentation about the tax?
It's a community facilities district tax. At the La Paloma subdivision, the owners are requesting to terminate it. They're going to fund the improvements themselves rather than through a CFD.
How are they going to do that?
With their money.
Who's money going to enforce that?
Security on the subdivision.
The city of Raleigh has security?
Of course. It's required under the Subdivision Map Act.
And should they fail?
Then you call the bonds, call the security.
How much bond is it?
I don't know that off the top of my head. It's based on estimates.
It's over $3 million.
Right. It's based on estimates that cost to construct the facilities and to pay. So normally we get 200% security.
So is this on behalf of the developer?
Go ahead.
Hello, Council. My name is Andrew Dixon. I'm one of the owners of Jupiter Ventures 3, who owns Unit 2 at La Paloma, the subdivision La Paloma. I'm also one of the owners of Pacific West Development, who is the general contractor that will be building the homes there. Back in 2006, when the CFD was actually set up for the La Paloma subdivision, it was a very different time for building homes. And there's a lot of infrastructure that is put on an approval of a project, and it was the way that someone would finance being able to build infrastructure. Back in those days, it would be a facility to where you could get funded the money to do the work. It doesn't work like that anymore. You have to go do the work, you have to pay for it yourself, and then you hope and pray that you get reimbursed in a timely manner. The other thing that we've dealt with as those, if there is anyone here that lives at La Paloma, that subdivision has been broken for many, many, many years. And the homeowners there, part of our thoughts on this is they've been paying the facilities tax, which is the tax A, which generally ends up being kind of a hefty tax for this, if you add up all the taxes, the tax rate. So we suggested that we get rid of this tax as a win-win, because we felt like the homeowners would be happy if we remove that tax. We felt like as we move forward and start building homes and revitalizing the La Paloma subdivision, which we're hoping to do very soon, that not having a CFD tax will be more of an incentive to have people want to come buy a house in that area, which will help the area grow, which will help us be able to pay the city fees, which will help fix roads, all those type of things that we're trying to help this subdivision progress. And this gentleman asked about how we're going to pay for it. Well, obviously, as was mentioned by Mr. Smurden, we're committed to pay for that with our own dollars. We've already, in our own way of paying for it, with every home closing, we are setting aside $20,000 in a set-aside fund on our own to make sure that we can fund that infrastructure, and that will work. The other thing that it does too is when you do it without having a CFD, you save about 40% of the cost because it doesn't need to be at prevailing wage. So in reality, we felt was good for the homeowners. We felt it was good for the city that we would be able to get out there, like Mr. Spurden mentioned. Just on the Unit 2 side alone that we own, the bond on the off-track improvements is well over $3 million. Mick Pattinson, who's one of the owners of Unit 1, they have a similar size bond to make sure that work gets done as well. So I think that's a good question you asked, but I'll be honest with you. I welcome your questions. I can tell you, when we have a bond out there that's hanging over our head, we don't want to not be able to perform, because we're on the hook for that. So we look forward to moving forward with the La Paloma subdivision. I will say it has been a very difficult process up until now, but I am so grateful for your new city manager, Tyler Salcedo. He has made a world of difference. He's been fair, he's been reasonable, and I don't think if it wasn't for him, I don't think we'd be moving forward right now. And so I do appreciate the council in supporting him as a city manager. He's been fantastic to work with. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Sure.
Do you want me to stand by you, or do you want me to? All right.
That's fine.
Great.
So one of our observations is that residential housing never pays its bill for streets and infrastructure. It's well known everywhere. The streets, there's never enough reserve to take care of the streets, the sewer systems, security, all these kinds of things. Our property tax structure doesn't cover it. And what bothers me here is, and it's not about yours, there's a lot of history here. Many city councils before this time was involved in this. But frankly, I don't want to be on the hook for any more of these kind of projects where we have to come up and cover the balance. So is this infrastructure the streets?
It's the off-site improvements, and that's exactly what I think. If you understood what was going on here with this, you would realize we are taking that off your backs. We're taking that facilities tax that the homeowners in that subdivision are paying for. Let me finish. To finish that infrastructure, and we're saying we'll take the bill.
Because it's your how many units there belong to you, and how many to Brawley citizens at this present time?
We own all 140 units in
So-
a unit 2. Mick and his partner own 128. There's 260 units that are all privately owned.
They're yours.
Yes.
So there's no Brawley residents.
The Brawley residents are the ones that buy the houses and live there.
It's a new.
So
it's a
who's
new-
who's more important? The people who are going to come, or the residents that live in the town?
I don't want to be rude here. I feel like you don't understand what's going on here. We're actually removing the tax of the homeowners.
You're
Meaning-
removing the tax to yourself
No, we're not.
because you own the property, right?
Okay, so if you want to get technical on how this works, there's a set amount for each developed home that is a larger amount. The undeveloped land, the way the CFD is set up, is a very small amount for the undeveloped land of the facilities tax. The way that a bond is supposed to be done with a CFD is to set up so the bond is there, and the payback is the facilities tax, which is your special tax A. So what we're proposing is that we will take on the obligation to pay for that infrastructure. So as you said, on your back, you don't have to pay for it, nor do the homeowners out there. And I don't see why that wouldn't be something, I can, are you a homeowner in La Paloma?
I'm a homeowner in Brawley.
Okay, I just asked, are you a homeowner in La Paloma?
I'm a homeowner in Brawley. So I'm interested in making sure.
I didn't mean that question as like a slight on you. I just was wondering, do you live in the La Paloma subdivision?
No, I do not.
Okay, so what I'm just saying is, those homeowners that live in the La Paloma subdivision, I know because I've talked with many of them, they are so grateful and elated to have this tax removed from them.
So I ask you a simple question. Do you own all of the lots? And you said you own them all, so there's no Brawley residents there.
There is Brawley residents.
How many?
There's 25 homeowners there that are not on ones that we own. So we came in and bought lots at
So
the lot.
you-
Let me
so you
finish.
bought
Let
all the
me
25.
finish for a second. Way back when, there were 25 homeowners that bought homes before the recession,
Right.
and they lived there. There's 25 homeowners between Unit 1 and Unit 2. We came in after the fact, and we bought lots. We fixed up some of the houses that were not finished or finished and just need to be finished. We sold those to some homeowners there, so there's 25 homeowners there right now that have been paying a facilities tax. What we're proposing to the city is that let's remove that permanently so they don't have to pay that facilities tax. We'll go ahead and we'll pay for the infrastructure. We'll do it at non-prevailing wage. We'll save 40% of the cost on that. And that's a way that we feel like we can manage to pay for it.
So when does your responsibility end? When it's improved? Or is there some warranty period that you add on top of that?
Mr. Schmidt, I don't know if you want to speak to warranty
There's
period,
two-
but that's obviously, with any bond, we have a warranty period that we have to,
I just want to know what it is.
Yeah, so you generally, after the improvements are completed, there's a 1-year warranty
And
period.
they have to be
1 year.
improved.
And our streets around this town seem to fall apart in about 10. And it takes about 75 years to collect enough money to replace one. So that's just, this is your guys' decision. Those are just some things for you to think about. Thank you.
Well, one of the things that happens with a street on a private subdivision like that, you dedicate the streets to the city. So the city takes ownership of those streets.
Once they're
The other thing that's,
That happens to be the rest of us, right? Those who live here now. So we take it, so then we take ownership of that forever.
just like it is in every city.
Correct.
So I think maybe if I could say one last thing, because I really appreciate what this gentleman said about Main Street. I drove down Main Street as well today, and there is quite a few potholes there. I don't know how the city's budget processes work, but I know that we've built well over a couple hundred homes in the city of Imperial, and we've paid a lot of fees there. Just on these homes alone, the impact fees associated with it are about $15,000 a door. That does not go to us, that goes to the city. And I'm not sure, I'm sure the city is very good at what they do with the funds, but us building homes and Mick building homes in La Paloma subdivision, not only is good for the city, because there'll be fees paid, but it's great for these homeowners at La Paloma that have been sitting there for 10, 15 years waiting for their subdivision to be finished.
It's a tragedy for sure. But the question here is, what liabilities are we, the residents that already live here, what are we taking on in this? I'm not sure.
I'll let you speak to that.
Well, I'm not sure they know completely,
Well-
so that's why I'm asking the question.
This is a subdivision that's been entitled for 15 years. The decision to entitle the subdivision was made way back when the final map was recorded. So ultimately, one way or the other, it's going to get built out, and these roads will be dedicated to the city, and after the warranty period is up, they will be the city's responsibility, whether we do it through the tax, which is to build the roads, not to maintain them.
And so that's one of our main problems we have in Raleigh is we can't maintain what we have. Thank you.
Okay, if I may, okay. I don't like CFDs. When I came on the council 12 years ago, we did a few CFDs. They seemed to be a popular trend at the time, but I felt like it put a lot of pressure on the homeowner buying a home to have to pay for all the infrastructure, whereas the person selling the home or the developer selling the home did not accept that, and it kind of fell on the homeowner to do even off-site improvements and everything. Now the reverse of that is that the homeowner kind of knows the price on the house when they buy it, and so they are actually paying for that, for that to a certain extent in the price of the house that they buy, but at least those costs are up front. They know what the loan's going to be, and they know what the price is going to be.
Fully disclosed.
With CFDs, there are two, in these CFDs, I think there are two different taxes. One is tax A and one I think is tax B. What we're doing is attempting to eliminate tax A, which is a certain amount of money that the homeowner has to pay in every year over and above what their regular property tax is. And so what we're trying to do is reduce the burden on the homeowner, at least in long term, and so that they're aware of this is the price of the house, this is what we're getting into. And then that makes it better for them in terms of long term. Now, we accept the streets on any kind of subdivision in the city of Brawley that is developed in the city of Brawley, and if we didn't have subdivision development, we wouldn't have people living here. So everybody that comes in will become a resident. We will accept responsibility for the streets. As you may be aware, the property taxes that we're allowed to charge and the sales taxes and all that stuff do not provide us with enough funding to always keep the streets immaculate, okay? And by that I'm saying most of our streets we're able to travel on, but some of our streets become in disrepair or they become a little bit potholed or whatever. What we try to do is every year we go around the city improving those streets and trying to pave streets that have a lot of traffic. Maybe we don't pave them as often as we should, but we attempt to do that. Yes, we do have money from the state to do Main Street. However, there is some infrastructure on Main Street that we're looking for grants to improve that with. But just to cut short to the chase, all this is we're placing the infrastructure burden back on the developer. We're taking it somewhat off the homeowner, at least from the offsite. And that's all that we're simply doing here for a subdivision that's already in place. 25 people live there. As people buy that house, then we will be taxing them property tax-wise. They'll be paying sales tax, they'll be paying whatever else they pay. The developer will be doing those Tax A infrastructure items, and they'll be getting that done for us. The city will look at those, inspect them, and approve them. At that point in time, as the developer backs out, there's a bond in place for 1 year after they leave to ensure that those streets are built correctly, that the sewer lines are all built correctly, and whatever else we're talking about that will go in for that development. And that's simply all that we're doing here. I've been in favor of this because I don't like CFDs. And I probably, as a council member, I'll never vote for another CFD as long as I sit here on the council. But I do believe that this will be a relief. I welcome the relief for the homeowners that are already there and for the future homeowners that are there. And that's pretty much the gist of it. I understand that we never bring in enough money to keep the city going in the way that maybe the public desires, but we do the best that we can with what we obtain. And we're always looking for grants, and we're successful with some of those. I think, we have certain streets that have been paved recently. They look pretty good. We're doing well with that. The states come in and pave some of their state highways that intersect us. We've done 8th Street. We've done a few others that out there over the course of the years that I've been here, and I'm hoping that people appreciate that. We just did Legion. We've got that finished now. So I know there are some concerns about the streets, and we'll work on those, and we'll talk about those, and hopefully we'll get some things done with those. But I think in this situation, all we're talking about is one subdivision, and it's a relief, I think, for the homeowners. That's all.
We just look forward to finishing that up and making it look nice for the city of Brawley and the residents. So.
Correct.
Any other questions you have for me? Anyone else?
I do have another. Okay. Oh my God. Sorry? Oh my God. Well, so I don't have any problem with your project. I really don't. This is a larger issue. We run, I think cities all over California run into structural deficits in their budgets. This is a problem. It's a structural issue. The second thing here is that basically what we're doing is we're socializing these added expenses in new subdivisions. I don't have any problem with putting in subdivisions. I just want them to pay all their own bills, which I hope that's what's being suggested here. But the 1-year warranty period always concerns me because I haven't seen roads really lasting long enough to make 1 year go to 75, according to studies. That's all.
If I could just speak to that really quick, and I know I've been in the development business for a long time, and I know how it works, but I want at least you to understand, we do pay for our own stuff, but we also pay for stuff that's not ours. To get any project approved, you have to agree to do off-site infrastructure that is the city's infrastructure that will benefit the citizens. That's the improvements that we're talking about that was supposed to be funded by this tax that we're removing. So if we spoke of just what's in the La Paloma subdivision, that is our improvements, which would be on-site improvements, we always pay for those. But let me finish. With any project that gets approved, most cities will require a developer, as a condition to get something approved, is to improve off-site infrastructure that's not within the walls of your project. That is the improvements that we're talking about that will be funded by this CFD, that we're removing the tax, and we're saying, as opposed to taking it from a bond, having the homeowners pay the tax to pay for that off-site improvements, we're saying we will pay it.
So thank you for bringing that up. So what off-site improvements are you speaking of precisely?
That would be a really long conversation.
You'd have to look at the
Undergrounding the Malin Canal right there in front of La Paloma. I mean, there is a lot of it.
$1.5 million for that from the Imperial Irrigation District?
No, that was Ladville Ranch.
Council, I don't know of an entity out there that will fund off-site infrastructure. There's no security or collateral that you give to that. You don't go get a loan for off-site infrastructure that I'm aware of. So
You might tell the gentleman where your project is located?
right off of Malin Street, near the end down there, almost the highway.
No, they are not part of the Walmart project. They are way over on Malin towards the 111 bypass, or towards the old 111. They're, no, you're past Dogwood, way on the east side towards, right near the 111, the old 111, this side of the old 111, the trailer park, and across the street from the major trailer park over there. That's where they're located with this. It has nothing to do with the underground. They have to underground a canal that's separate from what's being undergrounded over at Malin. And yes, you're right, the developer over there did get money from IID and from the city in order to do that undergrounding. So that happens all the time also. But this is a different project. And this project's been there quite a while and been a broken project for quite a while. And what we're hoping is that this will get that project completed, get everybody, and everybody, it'll be fair to everybody, I think, to do this. And we'll watch them when they're building the off-site infrastructure, arranging for that to be built. And city staff from Public Works and other city staffers will be reviewing that to make sure that it's right. They don't pay for upkeep over the next 20 years, though. The homeowner will pay property taxes, and that'll be used for the upkeep of all the streets in Brawley and everything else. But certainly, in many cases, we don't receive enough money in order to bring it up to the satisfaction of everybody that lives here. We try, but sometimes that's a little bit impossible, I think.
One more question. So there's underground, canal underground. What else have you done?
Like I said, that list is a giant list of off-site improvements. There's a secondary entrance that comes in the project. There's a lot of infrastructure. We're talking, well,
For the use of the residents.
it's outside the development walls.
You can't have development without.
Honestly, I don't understand what we're arguing about.
We're actually not arguing. We're just
I know
trying
we're
to
not.
answer
I'm just trying to say
Mr. Hamby's question.
We are trying to remove a tax from the
Right,
homeowners
right.
there.
That's-
Trying to reduce the taxes of the Brawley citizens.
That's what we're trying to do.
So-
yes, with the La Paloma project.
And I think ultimately, we fight this battle, as we've talked about, of never having enough money for the maintenance that we need over the years, over the decades. But also what we're dealing with here is an arrested development, essentially, that has sat there for many years. And we like infill projects. I don't know that you would necessarily call this an infill project, but the fact is that some of the infrastructure is there, some homes are there, and it would be good to just finish up this development so that the people that are out there aren't surrounded by dirt and weeds and the issues of homelessness that crop up around that development that we've been fighting. And
Like I mentioned to the council, we first acquired the property back in 2010 and 2012, the other unit, and we are very eager to finally get moving forward. I don't think it is productive in any way to speak about the past. We're very optimistic of the future and working with Mr. Salcido, and we appreciate Mr. Smurden's help as well, and we look forward to a positive development and making it nice for the homeowners out there.
And we certainly do too.
Thank you.
We want projects to be successful, and that's part of why we're attempting to do this. But we also think there's maybe an unfair burden on some of those homeowners out there, so.
Yeah. Any other questions?
is there any other questions from council members by Zoom?
We're still in the hearing too.
Any other?
George, no questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did he respond?
Any other questions or responses from the public?
That's a great question. Mick can speak to the ones in Unit 1. We're Unit 2. And
Sorry to interrupt. This is Councilmember Nava. Could you please state the question? What was asked?
the question was asked when we expect to finish the development. So we hope right now as some of you may or may not know, construction costs have gone through the roof over the last year, six months especially. And we are trying to work on our budgets and our construction costs with our bids, with our subcontractors. We're looking at framing right now because the lumber cost is so high. But we have our plans are already approved with the city. We are looking to move forward with that. We hope within the next 60 days we will start building on the La Paloma Unit 2, which would be, as you're coming into La Paloma, the right side. And Mick and his company, I think, will be a little bit before us, probably, that would be working on the ones to the left side. Does that answer your question? And it would be our great desire to finish as quickly as we can. It all will depend on how fast the homes sell. And that's one of the reasons that we're also eager to remove this tax, because we think that it will help people buy quicker because they won't have that burden. So,
Okay.
any other questions?
No other questions?
Thank you.
Okay. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And at this time, we will look for a motion to adopt the resolution.
So moved. Oh, wait, hold on. Somebody beat me to it.
No, go ahead, please, Mayor Pro Tem Councilman.
Okay, I'll make the motion to approve the resolution of the City Council of the City of Brawley, California, acting as a legislative body of Community Facilities District Number 2005-3 of the City of Brawley, La Paloma, approving permanent termination of the levy of facilities special tax therein presented by William Smearden, the City Attorney.
This is Councilmember Nava. I will second the motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Councilman.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? All right.
Mayor Hamby, do we need a roll call vote on this particular?
No.
Say- Ask that again,
Do we need a roll call vote on this particular topic?
Bill. Do we need a roll call?
It might help because they're on Zoom, and I'm not sure if anybody heard Mr. Wharton's vote.
Okay. All right, we'll take a roll call vote then. Mayor Pro Tem Couchman,
Yes.
Councilman Nava,
Yes.
Councilman Wharton,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. And Councilman Castro is not on Zoom.
Thank you, Mayor Hamby.
Okay. The resolution passes. Thank you, everyone that came for that. Thank you for the robust discussion. And I think important points are brought up about the way that cities are managed financially and the resources that we have coming in. And we are in the midst of a study that will show us what types of properties, what types of development in the city of Brawley bring in more revenue than they cost the city year after year. And I think it's going to be very eye-opening as to what parts of our town cost us more than they bring in that don't even break even. And I think that will help us in the future as we look to types of development, which types of development we're friendly to or attractive to. And so we do appreciate our city manager for taking the bull by the horn, so to speak, on that study. And we look forward to bringing the results of that in a presentation in the near future, and for the help that will give us in the way that we vote on development in the future. But these types of developments that were begun years ago and then came to a stop because of the recession or because of the economy, we are looking forward to getting these filled in and finished up, both for the residents and for the aesthetics of the town. So, thank you. All right, item 5, city manager report. With Tyler being absent, is there anyone that's planning to give a report there?
No.
No, we do not have a report tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 6, regular business. 6A is an update on City of Brawley declaration of local emergency as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. We have an overall outlook presented by Fire Chief Mike York. Mike, you're really quiet. Are you able to bump up the volume?
Is this an improvement?
Slightly.
I apologize, I have a tenuous connection. In interest of brevity, being Zoom, the bulk of my COVID-19 update is that in the 2 weeks since our last city council meeting, we've seen both our positivity rate and our case counts effectively double. So we are not in any way
If I may, Mr. Mayor. Chief, I anticipate that we may go back to requiring masks for inside. Is that probably your take on that?
We have seen some other counties reinstitute mask mandates, or at least consider that. As of right now, Imperial County, it's just being monitored, and I don't have a definitive answer on if those are going to be reinstated.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we need to get the word out to people as we get more direction from the county health department, and they usually provide that direction. I think it's dependent upon us to get a lot of word out to people, especially businesses, restaurants, et cetera, that are impacted by any of this. It is cause for concern. I don't know that we want to go back to what we were before, but it is a little bit cause for concern.
Well, it is just a very good reminder for all of us, whether it's public, private, or just individuals, just to be very cautious in cough and sneeze etiquette, washing hands frequently, and above all, just maintaining a self-isolation if you're showing signs and symptoms of any illness, but particularly those of COVID-19. I know that being in the healthcare profession, we're seeing a lot of summer colds, and of course, the way that those are transmitted are exactly similar to COVID-19. So if we're seeing outbreaks of summer colds, we know that people are not following precautions. And just because vaccinations are out there and prevalent does not mean that we don't have a community issue still.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Yes.
Item,
And if there's no further questions before you tonight, it's a resolution to extend our declaration of emergency by another 60 days. We're not quite to the end of our 60 days now, but with the council going dark in August, we wanted to make sure there wasn't a lapse in the declaration. Again, our response models, whether it's public safety or healthcare, they're not overly burdened as of this time, but we still maintain a significant financial emergency related to COVID-19.
okay, is there a motion to extend the resolution?
I'll make a motion. Donnie?
Donnie?
Donnie's making a motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second the motion. This is Councilmember Nava.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay. Thank you, Chief York.
Thank you, Chief York.
Item 6B, discussion and potential action to approve Best Step Forward's request for Cattle Call Park closure and waiver of the $500 closure fee for a Soapbox Derby event. This will be presented by Parks and Recreation Manager Rachel Fonseca. Backup is on pages 49 through 51.
Good evening, members of the council. Rachel Fonseca, Parks and Recreation Manager. This item was previously presented at the last council meeting, and the Soapbox Derby is taking place at Cattle Call Park on the exit side of the park, and they would like to request a closure of the park to control the traffic entering and exiting the park. So they're asking for council to approve the closure of Cattle Call Park on Saturday, August 7th from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. for their Soapbox Derby event, and for council to consider waiving the $500 park closure fee. I believe there were a few questions at the last meeting regarding the request, and we have representatives from Best Step Forward here to answer any questions you may have regarding their request.
Okay. Any questions from council?
I think Mike, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
I think I had a question last time we met on this as to how much they were anticipating bringing in for this activity, how they were going to bill, or how they were going to charge vendors, if there were vendors for this event. And if I could get those questions maybe answered, that would be great.
Hi, my name is Ana Barajas. Good evening, council members, city management team, city supporters. My name is Ana Barajas. I'm the director of city events with Best Step Forward.
My name is Paulette Ramirez, and I'm the VP. And we will have some vendors for food, but we will be catering. So we're not going to keep any of the profits And also the Brawley Creamery will be there as well. Yeah, and
Are you charging them to be there?
no.
They're not,
No, we're
being-
not,
they're
no.
just going to be there?
Yes.
Servicing whoever wants to buy their product
Yes,
or
uh-huh.
whatever? And you won't be charging them any fees
No,
for
we
that?
won't, no.
Okay. All right. Okay.
George, go ahead.
It was, my question was in respect to, I believe we did approve the event taking place. The only thing that was brought back was the request for the exclusion of the street closing fee. So that's, we wanted to see if they would come back just to request it in person and provide justification. I do understand that they're not, you know, it is a nonprofit, but I did want to make it clear that even nonprofits have paid the closure fee. Councilmember Morton did bring up the fact that this is going through COVID, and you know, we're you know, starting to come out of that. So, and we have excluded some fees from other agency increases. So, I would be in favor of allowing them to have their event and remove $500 fees.
No, actually, at this point, if I may say, where, I mean, it was discussed, the waiving of the $500 closure fee, but I mean, we're willing, we are a nonprofit, but we are not asking for a special treatment. I mean, we just want equal opportunities and to provide the services that we're doing for the kids and have fun. So it's okay, I mean, if it's not waived.
Okay. You're dealing with the step, just another question, the Step Forward program is to help differently abled children, so they do have some.
It's an inclusive, we provide services for the special needs and also for kids around Imperial County, especially the North County, the north part of the county, Calipatria, Westmoreland, and all of them.
Okay.
Nyland. We are a nonprofit that's based 100% volunteer and providing recreational opportunities like soccer, dance, baseball. Right now, during COVID, we did virtual drumming lessons with a recognized drummer from Aquabats, it was a show. And also we started doing virtual trivia nights. So we've been hosting events such as Easter, Halloween, Christmas. We see normally within the year 200 to 300 kids in our programs.
Okay. Question for city, and I don't know if anybody can answer, maybe you might be able to answer it for me. We normally open the restrooms at the park anyway, correct?
On Saturday, we are going to have someone open them, but we will only be charging for 2 hours because we have someone already designated for the splash pad, and that'll be $61, and they will be paying that fee.
They will pay that fee?
Correct.
Okay.
So at the last meeting, the actual event was approved, but it was pending closure, the approval of the closure, and also for council to consider waiving the $500 fee. Those were the last.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion to approve the closure of Cattle Call Park and basically to waive the $500 fee. And that's my motion.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Councilmember Nava, I'll second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? All right.
You're good to go.
Thank you so much. Good night.
You're welcome.
I brought some cards and brochures if you'd like. I could leave them so you can know more about our programs.
Yes, thank you. Item 6C is discussion and potential action to adjust the budget and adopt resolution number 2021- resolution of the City Council of the City of Brawley, California, authorizing acceptance of an allocation of funds and execution of a grant agreement, amendments, and other documentation with Federal Aviation Administration for Airport Improvement Program, grant number 3-06-0028-021-2021, Airport Coronavirus Response Grant Program, or ACRGP, grant offer at the Brawley Municipal Airport and authorizing the city manager to execute all documents in relation to this project. This will be presented by Public Works Director Guillermo Cias. Backup is on pages 52 through 78.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Guillermo Cias, Public Works Director. The City of Brawley applied on July 13 this year for a grant in the amount of $13,000 in federal funds for the Airport Coronavirus Response Grant Program, and it was awarded. And the item before the council tonight is to approve the execution of the agreement to have this grant available. What is qualified as an expenditure for this grant is related to operations, personnel, cleaning, sanitization, and janitorial services, combating the spread of the pathogens at the airport, and debt service payments. This is specific for airports, and it was awarded to the City of Brawley. So I ask if you can approve that to make these funds available to the City of Brawley. And any particular questions that you have or details?
Any questions?
Not for me.
Not for me.
What about the other?
I have no questions, this is Councilmember Nava.
Okay.
I've read the backup material, and I want to thank our Guillermo here for obviously identifying this. Looks like a good opportunity. And maybe just for the public, Guillermo, can you just share the grant amount?
I'm sorry, Council Member, I didn't hear the last part of the question.
The grant amount, $13,000.
$13,000?
Yeah.
This is similar to the previous grant that the city was recipient that was called CARES in the amount of $30,000. This is in addition to that, and I'm preparing the council staff report for another grant that is available. I honestly can't remember the amount right now, but that will be the third grant that we will get for the airport.
Very good.
Great.
Okay.
All right, if there are no further questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Councilmember Wharton will make a motion.
Okay.
Councilmember Nava, I'll second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, great. Item 6D, discussion and potential action to authorize the city manager to execute the contract extension for industrial pretreatment program support services for address changes associated with the Regional Water Quality Control Board, or RWQCP. Review of the local limits update, changes to the city's sewer use ordinance, renewed permitting of the current 3 significant industrial users, and replacement of the current Bechtel wastewater engineering team with a new industrial pretreatment consultant team for long-term support of the city's pretreatment program in an amount not to exceed $64,300 to Bechtel wastewater engineering. This is also presented by Guillermo Cias. Backup is on pages 79 through 88.
Yes, as you may remember that annually, usually we have been having somebody as Mr. Dave Bechtel as a consultant for industrial pretreatment and everything related to water, wastewater. And this is an extension for another year for his company to provide consulting services regarding the local limits update that was recently submitted to the regional board, and they have comments, so they have to prepare a response also to update the sewer ordinance based on the new local limits, and also to renew the 3 significant industrial users permit. Mr. Dave Bechtel had been with the city over 10 years. He was the responsible for the design of the wastewater treatment plant and many other projects. They helped to, he helped to establish the sewer ordinance and has extensive experience in the history of sewer pretreatment in the city of Brawley and dealing with industrial pretreatment. They are ready to retire, and also part of this extension of the contract will be to help us to prepare an RFP to select another consulting firm for wastewater and industrial pretreatment. And the extension of the contract will be in the amount of not to exceed $60,300 to Bechtel Wastewater Engineering. Any questions that you have?
Any questions? Nope. All right, then I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve this.
Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Okay. The contract is extended. Item 6E, discussion and potential action to approve amendment number 1 to Milo Janitorial Incorporated for continued janitorial services through March 30th, 2022, and a monthly increase of $663.40 from $7,742.60 to $8,406, presented by Guillermo Cias. Backup is on pages 89 through 93.
Yes, Milo Janitorial Services have been providing services to the different departments and facilities to the city of Brawley, and this item is to extend the contract through March 30th, 2022, and an increase in the amount of $663.40 a month to continue providing cleaning and disinfecting services. The increase is due to the additional sanitization that they have to perform and cleaning, and with the increasing staff too, the cost, and going back to provide those services at the facilities that were closed the last year due to the pandemic. And the item is to accept the extension of this company. Any questions or details?
Is any of this being paid for with COVID relief funds?
It's just for the airport. You mean to that?
I mean, the janitorial services due to COVID, extra sanitation measures due to COVID.
Right, but the contract that they have is not at the airport. It's on other buildings,
Right.
but not in the
No, but
the
what I'm
airport.
saying is because these extra sanitation measures in all the departments are due to COVID measures, right?
Yes.
But is any of this eligible for COVID relief funds, the monies that we get for COVID-related expenses?
Not at least on the grant that we obtain or that you just approve, but might be possibility for other grants that will be available, maybe based on reimbursement, but as of today, we don't have that.
Okay, looking for a motion to approve.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Wharton, I'll go ahead and make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay. Thank you, Guillermo. Item 6F, discussion and potential action to approve budget adjustments, the replacement of a failed air conditioning unit, near end-of-life units, a new unit, and reject bids for project number 2021-04A, purchase and installation of 11 air conditioning units for various city buildings, and approve proposals of $7,000 and $73,750 from RNK Air Conditioning. This is presented by Guillermo Cias, Public Works Director, and Tony Godinez, Assistant Finance Director. Backup is on pages 94 through 135.
Public Works Department advertised 2 times the replacement of 11 air conditioner units, and unfortunately, we did not receive any proposal. The department contacted the vendors that show up at the pre-bid meeting that, however, they didn't bid, and we asked them the reason why they did not submit any proposal, and they were concerned about the high demand of units, and that they will not be able to comply with the requirement of the 30-day supply, plus the additional special coating that is required at the wastewater treatment plant due to the corrosive environment. And so the finance department proposed that instead of re-advertise for the third time that we might get the same result, just to get quotes from the 6 vendors that participated in the pre-bid meeting. And we were able to obtain proposals, and we will work with them on the lead time to supply those equipments. In the meantime that we were doing this process, another air conditioner failed at the finance building. So they are limited in air conditioning, and they are sharing facilities with another department. And the proposal that is in front of you is to approve the purchase of that unit at finance department, and the other 11 units or separate is up to the council the way that they want to proceed with the approval, either just the unit that is very neat that failed already at finance building, and the other 11 units in different departments that are included here, or just either or. I mean, it can be separate or all together. The proposal for the replacement of the 11 units, it's the lowest. It is in the amount of $73,750 for 11 units, and for the single unit at finance department is $7,000. It is included also the breakdown of the 11 units per department, and also included as part of this staff report, it is a budget adjustment that is required in the different departments, because this expenditure was not included on the process of the budget approval, that except on the water and wastewater funds, but that is not part of the general fund. So that's the request to the council to approve one unit, or altogether the 1 plus 11.
So
any questions?
I have a question. So the city manager is recommending that only the failed unit and the budgeted unit be replaced at this time?
At least because finance department is kind of in a state of emergency.
We've got to do that one. We know
Right.
that. I mean, that's pretty much a given.
But it is also possible that you approve the other replacement of the 11 units in the amount of $73,000, because as mentioned earlier, it was very difficult to get proposals in a bid procedure. So we have to call them individually and ask for a quote, and that's what they provided, with the caveat that they may not have the equipment ready in 30 days, but we will work it out on that.
But my understanding, though, is those other units are not budgeted at this point in time.
That's correct.
We would have to make a budget adjustment. And we'd have to add 73,000, well, I don't know about 73,000.
Ms. Carla Romero from Finance Director, it is also available for any how hot it is the building.
We know that. We've got to replace the one unit. We know that going in. There's no question. But the other units, I think, are where there's some question as to whether we want to approve them all or what we want to do in that.
Right. Let me just, as I mentioned, if we go again on the bid procedure, we might get the same result.
Right.
And there's no warranty that we will get something at the reduced price of the quote that they gave us.
Okay.
And what is the okay, go ahead, Carla, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I did speak with Tyler last week, and we did discuss this item, and he asked me specifically to write it in this manner so that we can decide if we want to replace all the units, if it's some of the units. As Guillermo mentioned, the wastewater, those 2 units are budgeted, and so those would be easily, we'd be able to replace those and have enough funding for those. The other units, we did contact the vendor and ask if we only replace, let's say, the health building, which is discussed, and we have a potential donation to offset some of those expenses. They did mention that those quotes are in And so
Okay.
you could choose to just do one or none, or all four of those building units that are in there that amount to $55,150.
Okay.
And that
All right.
55,000, that's all to the general fund?
That would all be to the general fund in addition to the $7,000 for the finance department. And you are correct, Tyler's recommendation was to fund the failed unit because the other units are still functioning. We recognize though that the Elks building doesn't have an air conditioner right now. And again, we do have that potential donation, and I know that Rachel is in the room and she has been in contact with the potential donors, if you want more information on that.
Okay. Okay. So what I'm leaning towards is, well, from my perspective, is replacing the failed unit at finance. That has to be done, okay? The wastewater treatment plant, those 2 units are budgeted, so we can certainly replace those. I'm leaning towards replacing the Elks building, or putting one in the Elks building, because there isn't one. Those kids are over there. There's an offset, I believe, that the public somebody had called me and said there was an offset for a portion of that amount of money, the $8,000. And so I think if we work with the community, we may be able to get even more offset. And so I think that's an option that I'd like us to look at, simply because there is no air conditioning in that building. And if there is an air conditioner in that building, that makes that building that much more valuable to the youth and to the city. The other units, if they're working, I think maybe we wait on those until they actually do go down, or maybe in next year we can look at replacing some of those and actually budgeting that in. That's kind of my take on this whole thing and the way I kind of view it. I don't know what the rest of the council feels, and that's just my personal feelings on it. So let everybody else chime in, I guess.
Any other comment?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Couchman, for the information and your comment, Councilmember Nava. I would just be in agreement to move forward with the purchase of the units. I know we've struggled with issues in the past, and we've had units in the past. As an example, Lion Center, where when both strained, we lost one, and the other one immediately afterwards. So I would just be in favor of moving forward with the purchase of the units.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Councilmember Wharton. I was inclined to think, I know we're always addressing, obviously, these issues. These are mechanical systems that are obviously prone to break. They work hard, especially where we live here in the Imperial Valley. So I think it goes without saying that if we get this collective bid, we're getting the best number, or proposal, I should say. And if we have failure of some of those other units that we don't replace, the cost just significantly go up, right? When we're trying to do things in an emergency versus trying to be somewhat proactive. So even though we're reacting to a failure, I think maybe the idea of addressing them all now might make sense. I mean, we'll save a little money, and then even though I think Mayor Pro Tem Couchman brought some great points, in terms of the budgeting process, I understand that. But I just, my experience, going on 9 years now, these things fail, and often we're having to deal with them in more of an emergency situation. So I like the idea of being proactive and hopefully saving some costs.
Okay. Is there a motion then for the entire proposal?
This is Councilmember Nava. I'll make the motion to approve the proposal as presented.
Is there a second?
Second, Councilmember Wharton.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. Did you have another?
I probably will go along with the rest of the council on this. I don't know where finance is going to come up with the $70,000, but I probably will go along with the rest of the council on this, simply because it is summertime. We know some of those units may fail. At least we can have them in the queue for replacement. Maybe we can push that off a little ways, and we don't have to come up with all that money in the next 30 days. Maybe they can't supply them in the next 30 days. We may be into the next 3 to 6 months before we get those. So I'll go along with the rest of the council on that.
Good point, sir. Thank you, Mayor Pro
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Item 6G, discussion and potential action to adjust the library budget, accept grant funds, and approve a grant agreement for the City of Brawley Public Library to participate in the Imperial County Children and Families First Commission Program for fiscal year 2021-22, presented by Desi Rodriguez, our library manager. Welcome, Desi. Backup is on pages 136 to 158.
Good evening, council. Good evening, mayor. I'm here to ask you guys if you guys can approve the budget adjustment to increase our expenses and revenues to match the awards that were originally granted. The city budgeted it at $176,000 when we actually got $189,000, so we're asking if you guys can adjust that budget. Also to approve the LAMS, the grant, the First Commission Fund, and this is Cosette. She is the LAMS supervisor. Brought her here in case there's any questions about the LAMS program. That's about it. Are there any questions?
Not for me.
Nope. Any other questions?
I have bad luck with this mic, that's why I'm holding it like that. It just keeps, there you go. All right.
There you go.
Okay, with no questions, is there a motion to approve this budget adjustment?
I'll make the motion to approve the budget adjustment for the library to add that additional funding.
Second by Councilmember Ward.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Item 6H, discussion and potential action for approval of assignment agreement re La Paloma Unit 1. This will be presented by City Attorney Bill Smurden. Backup is on pages 159 through 180.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is the same subdivision we were talking about earlier. 18 years ago, the subdivision was approved with conditions of improvement, and in the typical fashion, a development agreement or subdivision agreement was adopted. The work was started but never finished, and years later, new owners bought it. We had to negotiate a development agreement because there was a bunch of infrastructure that was started, never accepted, and because it wasn't used, it deteriorated. So that development agreement was adopted by council in 2016, and at that time it was both the subdivision agreement and the development agreement were specifically made assignable. I believe the new owner planned to market part of one of the units from the get-go. It made no secret that they were going to market it to another developer. So they have sold it to another developer, and the purpose of this assignment agreement is for that new owner. The new owner is La Paloma Development LLC, to formally acknowledge that they're bound by the development agreement. Also, Tyler, the city manager, worked very hard with owners of both subdivisions to come up with plans to fix the storm drains and rehabilitate the existing streets, which are kind of the last hurdles to get this up and running. So that assignment agreement just lays out that plan for Unit 1, not Unit 2 we're working on separately. So that's what it's on for today, and let me know if there's any other questions.
Okay. Any questions from council? A question from the public?
Yeah, I have a question. Are there any amendments to the 2016?
Well, it's not really an amendment. It just it specifies what the city's going to require with respect to repairing existing storm drains and rehabilitating existing streets. But that was contained in that 2016 agreement. This has a little bit more detail.
So what you're saying, the only changes on the 2016 agreement is the name and addresses of the city?
I couldn't hear you.
The only changes is the...
You need to have him go to the mic.
My question for the public, on behalf of the public, is on this agreement, is there any changes beyond signatures names and addresses. Is there any changes in any terms?
No, the terms of the 2016 agreement provided that the owners would have to rehabilitate existing infrastructure.
Yeah, I understand there was terms, so is there any change in the terms?
And what I'm trying to explain to you is that this assignment agreement memorializes what we're going to actually require with respect to the existing streets, because that wasn't in the 2016. What was in 2016 agreement was inspected, propose a solution, we'll agree on it. Now, we've agreed on it, so it's in this agreement.
So you've added specifications in the terms. The terms were open-ended previously, and now they're close-ended.
Right.
Okay, that's my.
Just with respect to those streets, right, and the storm drains.
Okay, is there any other question? If not, we'll ask for a motion to approve the assignment agreement.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second, Councilmember Wharton.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? The item carries. Item 6I, discussion and potential action to approve requests from La Paloma Development LLC and Jupiter Ventures 3 LP deferring the payment of development impact, water and sewer capacity fees until the issuance of certificate of occupancy, also presented by Bill Smurden. Backup is on page 181.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if you've seen your backup, there's been a request, a similar request was made by the developer of Latigo Ranch to postpone the payment of these impact fees from the issuance of the building permit to the issuance of certificate of occupancy. This is not something that staff has the discretion to agree to. Council does, staff does not. The last time this came up with Latigo Ranch, council directed me to put in the agreement to defer those things, that the deferment would be no longer than 1 year after the issuance of a building permit. If that's council's wish, we could do that. The financial impact, it's about $13,000 to $15,000 per house for these fees. It's impossible to know what the financial impact would be, because what we're talking about is we wouldn't have the use of that money, the interest, for that period of time from the issuance of the building permit to the certificate of occupancy. And so we have no idea how many permits would be out at one time. We have no idea exactly how long it would take to build the house and get it ready for final inspection and certificate of occupancy. So there's no way to calculate what that lost interest would be. Probably not much, interest rates are so low, but there is a slight impact. There is no impact on our services, however, until these units are occupied.
Right.
So, correct.
So can the similar question be asked, that whether this can be accomplished in 12 months as we noted in the Latigo Ranch agreement?
So that's the question to you. So can you build that what we did the last time? We put a limit on it. From issuance of the building permit to issuance of certificate of occupancy, if you can get it done in 12 months, then.
Yeah, if the question is, after building permit, if the deferred would be paid within 12 months, yes, I think that's doable.
If the house is sold, in other words, I think we're more concerned with when you get the building permit, we would like the house to be constructed within 1 year and the payment made within 1 year. You're agreeing to both to construct the house and you're going to have to sell it within that 1 year in order for you to make that payment, or else you'll just have to go ahead and make that payment after a year. So what we're giving you is a year to make the payment. I don't think that's unfair. I think that's what we required of other people.
I think that's very reasonable. So, the only situation you'd ever be in is if you can't sell a house, and at that point, a year is fair.
Obviously, if the housing market slows down, you'll stop pulling permits.
Yes, and then you're not, but if you have a pulled a permit, then you're responsible.
I think 12 months is very fair.
Okay.
And you're in agreement with that.
So that can be amended in that,
Well,
with that wording?
we're asking for direction. If you're
Okay.
willing to do that, we'll write up an agreement
Okay.
that reflects that.
Any
So-
other questions from council that, along those lines?
This is Councilmember Nava, no questions.
So we're not voting on that tonight?
Support of that.
We're not voting on that tonight, or?
No, you vote
We're
to
gonna
tell me
vote.
to do it that way.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I think at this point, since we've done this before, I think we have a history of doing this. I don't have any problem with that as long as we're not deferring it for a tremendous amount of time. And so I'll make the motion to approve requests from La Paloma Development LLC and Jupiter Ventures 3 LP, deferring the payment of development impact water and sewer capacity fees until the issuance of certificate of occupancy, not to exceed 1 year. Add that in there.
Right, from the issuance of the.
From the issuance of the permit.
Okay.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
This is Councilmember Nava, I'll second the motion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay,
Thank you.
Okay,
thank you.
you have your direction.
Move on to item 7, departmental reports. Nothing to report. Item 8, informational items. No informational items. Item 9, city council member reports. I will start with Councilman Nava.
I'll just thank staff and the public for tuning in. I have a longer report, but I will hold my comments until after our recess. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Wharton.
Mr. Mayor, I have no report at this time. I just look forward when we reconvene to share events and thoughts then. So that's all I have.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Couchman.
Just briefly, I did attend the Elks Centennial celebration, 4 days, I think, in a row. I did provide them with a certificate recognizing that they have been in operation for 100 years here in the city of Brawley, supporting activities that benefit the public, veterans, youth, et cetera, here in the city of Brawley, and they were very happy to receive that. I also was able, during the time period that we were off, to also make an appearance at the Chuck Valenzuela funeral. As you know, Mr. Valenzuela was a long-term councilman here in the city of Brawley, and I felt city of Brawley should recognize that and attend his funeral, and I was able to do that at the American Legion, and so I was pleased to do that on behalf of the city. And that's my report.
All right, thank you. I don't have much to report other than I'd like to wish our fellow councilman Ramon Castro best wishes on his walk. He's walked from Imperial Beach, I think, all the way to Texas so far, and to promote his organization that is fighting against the deportation of veterans. So it's pretty amazing. He'll be on a national stage for sure. And also I was able to attend the funeral of Sheriff's Deputy Redondo.
I did that too.
And that was a very touching ceremony, a young man who lost his life in service to the county. Other than that, I'd like to thank staff for their hard work, kind of skeleton crew right now, but we appreciate all your hard work. And with that, we will move on to item 10, the city attorney report.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So there's a lot of things going on. Two ordinances that I've been asked to work on. One is the mandatory ordinance for the organic recycling program that the state is mandating. So we're working on that. Another one, we're working on a mobile billboard ordinance that would prohibit parking of mobile billboards in the city limits. It's kind of getting out of hand and been asked to.
Except ours, right?
Except for what?
Except ours.
Except our mobile billboards.
Except our mobile billboard.
Well, I'm not sure our mobile billboard meets the definition.
Oh, okay.
We're copying one from Los Angeles.
Good. Good, because we need that fireworks one out there.
Right. It's not exactly what the ordinance targets.
Very good.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Item 11, city clerk report.
Nothing to report. Have a happy vacation, since we won't be meeting till September 7th.
I have a feeling we'll be back before.
Yes, tentatively.
September's
Tentative.
my birthday.
Oh, your birthday? Oh.
All right, with that, we will move into closed session. Thank you for coming.
You
Yeah, we'll
shouldn't have
take a
said nothing,
brief
Bill.
recess.